animal and are being tracked as part of that research are actually entangled in some sort of ghost gear, which is discarded or lost fishing net, but also flying rings and other plastic waste that might have got lost in the sea from other ways. So entanglement is really brutal. I've seen it firsthand. It can create huge open wounds, especially microfilament netting, which is really thin, clear netting that's really hard to see for marine animals, so they're particularly liable to swim through it or to get entangled in it. And it can cut through the skin, it can leave open wounds, it can make it really difficult for them to feed. And seals in Cornwall can live with this for quite a long time, but it causes massive long-term health problems and eventually death. So it's quite a big welfare issue in Cornwall. But yeah, so as well as ingestion, entanglement is like a big issue. And we're seeing all of these things increase as plastic production increases. We think there are around 200 million tonnes of plastic in the ocean at the moment, and that is set to increase if plastic production increases. So what are microplastics and what effects can they have on animals and marine life? Well, microplastics are fragments of plastic polymers, and they're often broken down from larger pieces of plastics in our environment. Generally, microplastics are less than 5 millimetres in size, and they're really prevalent in our environment. They're ubiquitous. They're absolutely everywhere in our environment. And it really shows how durable plastics are. Plastics don't ever naturally break down or biodegrade. What happens is that larger fragments just break down gradually through UV, wave action, wind, and just being out in our environment, and they break down in smaller and smaller fragments, but they don't truly ever disappear. So every piece of plastic that's ever been produced on the earth is likely still here. And what we found out more recently is that these microplastics can break down even further into nanoplastics. Nanoplastics can be between sort of 1 and 1,000 nanometers wide, which can be about 100 times smaller than the width of a human hair. So they're really, really small, and that poses a completely new threat to our health, to animals' health, and to the environment, because they're going to be extremely hard to get rid of. We know that these nanoplastics, or MNPs, which is micro and nanoplastics, can enter our bodies. We know that there are microplastics found in our lungs, in our tissues, in our brain, our reproductive systems. And we also know that microplastics can be found in our environment, such as soil, water, air, clouds, pretty much everywhere, even the top of mountains. I think there was a study done that microplastics were found on the top of Mount Everest, and down to the deepest parts of our ocean as well. So they pose a real risk, and I think one of the things that the research is coming out at the moment is actually what impact does that have on our health, and it's something that we don't fully know the links between yet, but there are some research that are suggesting links between microplastics that build up in our bodies, and cell disruption, inflammation, and diseases like cardiovascular disease, and even dementia and obesity. But at the moment, these links aren't fully understood, so there's a lot of research still to come on exactly how microplastics affect our health. But for animals, the impacts of microplastics are already there. We know from some research from the Ocean Conservancy that there are lethal doses for ingestion of plastics, and that includes microplastics, and they're surprisingly small. So apparently 3 sugar cubes worth can apparently kill an Atlantic puffin. A couple of tennis balls can impact seals and other marine animals, and larger animals like porpoises and dolphins. Just a football can lead to a 90% death rate for them. And this is because it can cause impaction with the stomach, it can cause malnutrition, difficulty feeding, and give us a false sense of being full for a lot of animals as well. And yeah, there are so many impacts that we don't yet know because of that. So there's lots that the average person can do to cut down on single-use plastics, and I think there's a bit of a misconception that to really have an impact you have to cut all plastics out of your life, and that's not true. Firstly, plastics are an amazing invention. They're durable and stable, and we use them in our everyday lives, and they enable us to do so much. But I think the key difference is tackling those single-use plastics that are actually creating an environmental problem. And yeah, there is this misconception that we have to cut all single-use plastics out of our lives to have an impact, and that's not true at all. Probably a better way of looking at it as in your actions can have a really small impact personally, but if we all do that thing, then that's a massive impact combined. So for example, in the UK, we buy 38.5 million plastic bottles a year, which is a staggering amount, and if we all just refuse to do that and buy plastic bottles, that would make a massive impact. So I would just look at those top items really that we throw away all of the time, and that's things like plastic bottles, disposable coffee cups, which a lot of them do contain plastic cups and so forth. So, but you don't have to do everything, and I think just picking that one easy thing that you can get rid of is going to have a much bigger impact than you trying to do everything and then it only lasting a short amount of time because it's really hard to keep up. So yeah, stick to sustainable things that you can afford and that you can do. And I always say, like in my role, I always have a bit of guilt when I do use single-use plastics. And I think, yeah, just realising that doing our bit doesn't mean doing everything.
Absolutely.